This hose goes from the blow off down to the bottom to the throttle body. This hose goes down to the overhead bleed off, and this also goes over to the overhead bleed off. The small hose runs up over this way and up in here to the boost gauge. This hose that comes out of the top of the plenum runs down over to the right side of the bike and goes down to the top of the air filter. The IAC is right next to the same hose and is fed up through the back and up into the front of the bike. Okay, out of the front of the plenum you have a T. The one coming to the left goes down through the frame over to the turbo. The top one goes over and connects to the underside of the throttle body on the right side. Here is the underside of the right side throttle body, and here is the other one that comes down to the bottom of the turbo. As you can see, here's the oil line that's running up behind the turbo, comes up and comes into the top of the turbo. This is the clutch cover here. You got 3 bolts, and then here you have the clutch cable. This just gets unbolted, pulled off, wrapped in rag, and laid down and off to the side out of the way. Okay, this is the overflow line coming out of the radiator cap body, runs over to the front and runs down to the bottom of the bottle. At the top of the bottle is your vent tube, and it runs down, comes over to the front of the radiator and runs down the front radiator and is wire tied in 3 spots. The top spot is wire tied in by itself to one tube, and the other 2 spots in the center and at the bottom is wired to both tubes. Now on the hoses, as you can see, there's the radiator cap. The radiator cap runs down along the tube, which is the outside tube going to the right side of the radiator right there. Now the other one, which is the inside tube, coming from the top of the thermostat housing, running up to your bleeder valve, runs down, runs across, and goes to the top of the left side of the frame. Right here is the left side of the frame hose coming to the left side. As we're looking at the connectors, the connector with the white cap and the yellow wires coming out of the bottom, them are your stator wires. The other 2 here with the black and red leads, the 2 going to the motor fans. The other lead, black and red wires, also go down through the connector above the jiffy stand and then back up into the lower side of the motor. While I'm here, I'm going to point out this is the oil line coming up from the block going to the radiator. Along with that, coming out of the back side here is the oil line that is feeding over to the turbo. That is the return line. The return line is back up in here on the turbo. From the top of the turbo is your pressure tube that comes up to the top of the plenum. Okay, up here on the top where the battery is, this is the IAC connector, originally going to the top of the air box. with, now it has the extension cable on it that came with the turbo that feeds down and goes down to the IAC on the turbo. Okay, what I did is I took the two clamps off the throttle body, loosened them up, and pulled the whole entire throttle body and plent them off. What I probably will plan on doing is taking the small nuts off the throttle body, remove the plenum, so it'll make it easier to put it all back together. This is the right side. All the connectors and everything are still connected to the throttle body. This is the left side. Okay, this is cable that I marked number 3. This goes to the front cylinder coil pack. And then I come down here to the throttle body and I marked the front throttle body connection on the left side, number 4. Center throttle body, number 5, as you can see here. Okay, there are 6 nuts that go to the throttle body. Keep in mind that the studs are on the throttle body. The studs go up through the bottom of the plenum and then the nuts go on top. Okay, at this time the plenum and throttle body is removed. I've wrapped the throttle body and just pushed it off to the side for now. My next connection that I'm going to disconnect are the positive and negative of the battery. Positive going running up for my battery tender, and the ground going down to the stud on the front cylinder block. And then I have my red battery tender here and the red power lead going to the battery. Okay, now what I've done here is I got the 2 ground wires on the front cylinder labeled number 6. The rear ground wires, which is here, I've already disconnected them so I could get the tape around them, are labeled number 7, and they go to the rear cylinder top block for the ground. Okay, what I have here, this is number 8 wire. Number 8 wire goes to the rear coil pack. Okay, my next cable that I disconnected is labeled number 9. This is the main harness that's going down to the bottom of the throttle body and into the center of the V. Since I'm pulling the engine, I'm not going to worry about messing with the ones already connected to the engine. It's easier just to do it right here at the main wiring harness.